Hey, welcome to another Round Hill Art Center virtual art lesson. I'm Eric Scott, and today we're going to focus on drawing, specifically drawing words and letters. For a lot of people, they can write out letters, but they have a hard time kind of drawing nice, big, fat, thick letters. So I'm going to show you a simple technique. It's something that I kind of refer to as a skeleton technique because we're going to use your own handwriting to write the letters, and then we'll kind of put the body of the letter around that skeleton, that thin line that you wrote. So before we do that, let's go ahead and talk about materials. Since we're drawing today, I just need something to draw with. I need some paper. I have some white drawing paper, but printer paper, any kind of paper will work. I have a pencil in order to draw, and then that way I can erase my mistakes. I've got a big white eraser, and when I do this kind of drawing, I like to have a Sharpie to outline, just like I've done before. So if you have other materials that you want to draw with, crayons, markers, colored pencils, any of that will work. So we're going to focus on drawing letters and words. So I want to kind of go over the basic technique first and show you kind of an example, and then I'll get another paper and do it on there. So, I have my paper and I'm thinking about drawing letters. It might be kind of hard to do that. So if I can write the letter first. So some letters are easier to draw than others, but let's kind of think, let's just take the letter E for instance. So the letter E, if I do an uppercase, okay, all straight lines. And so if I really think about the shapes, it's kind of like rectangles. And I could do that. I could take and draw rectangles around it. And if I think about the line that I just drew, or in this case wrote, then I can think of that as a skeleton inside of the rectangle. So I can make a rectangle around that skeleton. Okay, so there's one rectangle, and then this rectangle is going to line up with the top of the vertical rectangle. Okay, and the same thing here. I can make it so my make it go around, and basically my rectangles are overlapping. Okay, which that's fine, but then I have all these extra lines that I have to end up erasing. So that's one way, is to kind of like think about all the individual shapes that make it up. But let's go ahead and let's do that again. So I've got my uppercase E, and then this time I don't want to have so many extra lines that I'm going to have to erase. So instead of drawing the whole rectangle, I draw part of it. So I'm going to, again, think about this as the skeleton of the letter. And so I'm drawing the body of the letter around it. It's going to be a thick, wide rectangle. So I don't want to be real close to the skeleton. I want to come, really far away, and I'm going to try to keep that line even. So those two lines are about the same length apart. Okay? And so instead of doing the whole rectangle, now I come down here and I'm just going to go this way. So I'm going to draw the side of that rectangle. Now I'm to the end, so I can come up this way. And then again, I don't want to be real close to this line. I want to be kind of far away from it. Then I want to stop here because I have this space here I need to draw in. So that's going to go up like that and then around. So it's almost like I'm tracing around the letter. Okay. And so now I have this skeleton inside. If I've got, I like this eraser because it has kind of a thin edge on it, and I can easily go in and erase. Now the thing is, I was pressing kind of hard so that everyone could see it, but then sometimes when you press really hard, it doesn't erase very easily. So you do want to be careful of that. But you kind of see now I've got that shape. Okay. that's a nice kind of wide shape. So you do have to be careful, like I was saying, not to get close to that skeleton. So let me show you what happens whenever we do that. So if we go ahead and do our uppercase E again. So sometimes I see people get real close. And this is fine. I mean, you end up with like a real skinny letter. But then it's really hard to erase that inside skeletal kind of letter. You know, I could outline it with the Sharpie and then erase it. But if I didn't have a Sharpie and I wanted to try to erase it, I couldn't. So I want to try to keep it nice and wide, may have nice thick letters. So that's the basics, is just kind of having this skeleton inside. So let's go ahead and start and actually use a word. And the nice thing is you can use any word. I love to do my name. So I'm going to go ahead and do my name. And I could do it in all uppercase, all lowercase. I can mix it up. Let me go ahead and do it in uppercase and lowercase so that you can see. The other nice thing is by writing the word first, I can make sure it fits. So my name, Eric, E-R-I-C, 4 letters. It's going to fit really well here. But if I had a really long name like Christopher, you know, I'm gonna have to make it smaller to fit this space or make it skinnier. So kind of keep that in mind as you're writing out your word. If it's really long, you're gonna have to make it smaller so it'll fit. And if it's really short, you can make it bigger. So yeah, I'm gonna do both uppercase and lowercase. So start off with that uppercase E. All right, and I just write it, and I want to write it nice and big. And then leave some space to do the next one. There's my R. There's my I. There's my C. So I'm trying not to press really hard with it so that I can erase it later. Okay, so that gives me my skeleton. Now I can start to draw my letters around it. And I'm going to see if I can make these really thick, wide letters. So I start out down the side and then come around. So I'm trying to leave a lot of space so that I have these really fat, thick letters. And you know what? That skeleton thing doesn't have to stay right in the middle. So like right here, that was a little bit slanted, so I made it a little bit wider here. That's fine. Okay. So if I think about the R, I started it, you can see that this is a rectangle, but then it comes up to that rounded part. So I kind of start to draw the rectangle, but then I stop because now I have to do the rounded part. And again, it's okay if the skeleton's not smack dab in the middle. Now this eye's a little slanted, so the nice thing is I can straighten it up a little bit as I draw. Then a nice big circle for the dot. Okay, and then finally the letter C. Now the C is a little bit different because it's more like a circle. So I basically made another C, but now I want to make, these are the ends. Now I want to make a smaller C inside. So I have my name now, and I can go back and erase those skeleton marks. However, you know what? Let's do the Sharpie first, because I always find it's easier to erase whenever I do the Sharpie. So just all I'm going to do is take and trace or outline. I want to go slowly to see if I can kind of stay on the line. Sometimes though, I might look at it and go, you know what? I want this to be a little bit straighter. That's the other nice thing about outlining, is I can fix any things that look a little bit wonky. Maybe make things that are a little bit wider or straighter. So these are just simple block letters. Sometimes people will do like bubble letters. So instead of having kind of a rectangular ends, they'll be rounded and they'll look more like they're made from bubbles. I know when I was younger, that was a big popular way of drawing words and letters. And you could do this with numbers as well. Okay, so now that I have it outlined, I can take my eraser and erase the pencil lines that are showing. Now, one thing to think about is that you could just draw the letters and you could just stop there. But then, you have all this empty space going on around the word. So to me, it just makes sense to fill in the rest of that space so that you have a design all over. And you could draw it with pencil, but I think I'm going to do a lot of it with the Sharpie just because I have the word down and I kind of use that as a place to kind of start. So there are lots of things that I can do. I'm going to show you a couple different things. So I could think about the letters, like what's going to happen inside the letters. I could just color them in solid, but I could also do patterns. I could do other things. I'm going to create an outline. I'm going to actually, I know I've already said I've outlined it, but I want to have like a thin stripe that goes around all the letters. And to do this, I'm not going to go on the outside of the word, the letter. I'm going to go on the inside. And so the idea is to have my thin stripe that goes all the way around. And notice how I'm taking my time. I'm going slowly. So I'm trying to make that stripe even. So this is one of my favorite things to do when I do letters, is to create this stripe. And oftentimes I'll leave that stripe white. So I'll color in the letter, I'll color in this part, but leave that little white stripe around, and it just makes it a little bit more interesting. And I'll do that in all the letters. Now, it's easy to do that on the straight parts. Now, here with the R, I have to make it curved. And then the circle up here is a little bit easier. It's just a smaller circle inside. Okay, that just makes it look a little bit more interesting. And it's not just going to be solid. And like I said, if I wanted to do stripes or some kind of pattern in there, I could do that. But I want to think about the outside. So what is the outside going to be? Maybe I want to do stripes or patterns or shapes in the background. Okay, maybe I want to create sort of a border. Maybe I want this to be in a rectangle. That might be kind of cool. So what I want to do is to think about a big rectangle that goes around my name. And if I wanted to, I could use a ruler to do this, or I could draw it with pencil first, just so that I know it's going to be more even. But I'm pretty confident whenever I'm drawing with the Sharpie. And so now I have kind of a big border. It looks like a sign. Maybe I want to do a little, some little shapes back here. Another thing I could do is to divide up or create different things in the background. Maybe I'm just going to do some stripes. Maybe I'll have them, then as they go out toward the side, they slant. So just something to help break it up. I could do all kind of different things around in the background, just thinking about that space. Okay, I mean that's simple, but then when I color it in, I could do lots of other things. So that's a real simple way. And let me show you another example that I've already done. So I've taken the word love and I've done a little bit of a design around. Instead of a rectangle, I've done the same kind of stripes. Okay, and so I could do just the printed letters, but I do want to show you, for any of you that know cursive writing, I want to show you that, because that could be kind of interesting. So I'll start off with a new piece of paper. I'm going to do it the exact same way. I'm going to start off by writing the word. So I think this time I'm going to do the word hope. I'm going to do it really big so that it fits, and make sure that I leave enough space because the P is going to hang down below. So I think right about there. So it's only a 4-letter word, so that way it fits really well. Again, if it was a really long word, it might not fit so easily. Now this is going to be a little bit more difficult because, with cursive, we don't really have hard straight lines, except for like on the P here and the H here. Everything else is kind of curvy. So what I like to do is to start and have the letter start at a point here. I'm still going to use this as the skeleton, and I want to try to make the letters pretty thick. Now I think here, like that skeleton, I made that loop a little bit too big, so I brought that side in and touched that skeleton part just to make it a little bit easier. So I am pretty close. That's the nice thing about the cursive, is that sometimes I can get close, especially on the outside of the letter, especially when it's close to another letter. So it's going to come out here and it's going to come to a point. So here's where I can make it a little bit thicker now. Okay, and I can't forget inside of the loop. And inside the O. Now right here, I have to backtrack when I did the O. So I'm thinking on the inside here, maybe there's a little bit of a different shape there because of the way it backtracked. So with the cursive, it probably wouldn't look too good if they were super thick. Okay. And then do the same thing. I'm going to outline with my Sharpie. So I always think about like here where the letters end like a tail. So thinking about like a dog's tail or maybe a cat's tail. Don't forget the inside of the loops and the O's and all that. Okay, there's the word hope, and just like before, take my eraser. This is why I like these big erasers, whether it's a white one like this or a pink one, because it's a lot of erasing, and if you were just using the back of the pencil, you'd use that eraser up so quickly. And notice how I'm taking my time, not trying to go real fast. If I try to go real fast, and I find that I often wrinkle my paper or tear it. So this just allows me to erase it. And notice how I move my hand and hold the paper tightly as I erase. That way it doesn't get all wrinkled or whatever. Okay. Sweep off my eraser dust. Okay, so there's the word hope. I could color that in, or I could do other things just like my other one. I'm going to go ahead and do something different to help decorate it because I don't want all this empty space. So I think what I'm going to do is to kind of create a stripe that goes around the outside, very similar to what I've done. I like doing that a lot, to have this sort of white space around it. But so I'm doing this on the outside of the letters, where I did it before on the inside. I just don't have enough room on the inside of this word to do that. Now, here, reason I didn't go all the way in is that because the E's there and they would kind of connect, but down here maybe I have a little space. So I'm just trying to be very even so that there's kind of like this white stripe around the whole thing. And then the last thing is to think about is the inside spaces here, are they big enough to have a white stripe around it? So I know those are. Maybe the P. The E, maybe just a little dot there. Okay, so I'm kind of liking how that's looking. I think I'm going to do a pattern. Maybe I'll do another one, but maybe make it a little bit farther away this time. So I'm trying to keep it about the same distance away as I go around, but it's a little bit wider than the first one. Okay, I like how it goes off the edges. Maybe I'll do one more of those. Maybe it's even a little bit wider. So I could really do anything to decorate the outside. Okay, so I still have some spaces there, so maybe I want to just do some stripes. Maybe the stripes go in different directions. Okay, so there I have my word design. So it's not just a word. I really thought about filling up the whole space to kind of create that design. So there you go. Okay, so I hope you had some fun doing this just basic kind of skeletal kind of technique where you can write your letters and then draw around them. With enough practice, you get to the point where you don't really need to do that. You can really visualize and draw those letters. So that's how I usually do it. Now with cursive, I don't do cursive so much, so I still have to write out the word and then do the letters around it. But the more you do it, the better you get at it, and I think the more fun it is. So I hope you had fun, and as always, try to show us what you're doing. Post them, tag us, let us see it. We love seeing your work. So anyway, thanks for joining us again, and as always, happy creating.